Welcome back to Bible in a Year. I'm your host, Kenneth Glenn. Today we're going to be reading about Abraham in Genesis chapter 15. We're going to be reading all the way through to chapter 17. So without further ado, let's get into it. So chapter 15, verse 1. Afterward, the Lord spoke to Abraham in a vision and said to him, "Do not be afraid, Abraham, for I will protect you, and your reward will be great." But Abraham replied, "O sovereign Lord, what good are all your blessings when I don't even have a son? Since I don't have a son, Eliezer of Damascus, a servant of my household, will inherit all my wealth. You have given me no children, so one of my servants will be my heir." Then the Lord said to him, "No, your servant will not be your heir, for you will have a son of your own to inherit everything I am giving to you." Then the Lord brought Abram outside beneath the night sky and told him, "Look up into the heavens and count the stars if you can. Your descendants will be like that, too many to count." And Abraham believed the Lord, and the Lord declared him righteous because of his faith. Then the Lord told him, "I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur and the Chaldeans to give you this land." But Abraham replied, "O sovereign Lord, how can I be sure that you will give it to me?" Then the Lord told him, Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, and a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon." Abraham took all these and killed them. He cut each of them down the middle and laid them half side by side. He did not, however, divide the birds in half. Some vultures came down to eat the carcasses, but Abraham chased them away. That evening the sun was going down. Abraham fell into a deep sleep. He saw a terrifying vision of darkness and horror. Then the Lord told Abram, "You can be sure that your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land, and they will be oppressed as slaves for 400 years. But I will punish the nation that enslaves them, and in the end they will come away with great wealth. But you will die in peace at a ripe old age. After 4 generations of your descendants will return to this land, when the sin of the Amorites has run its course." As the sun went down and it became dark, Abram saw a smoking firepot and a flaming torch pass between the halves of the carcass. So the Lord made a covenant with Abraham that day and said, "I have given you this land to your descendants all the way from the border of Egypt to the great Euphrates River, the land of Kenetites, Kizatites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Rephites, Amorites, Canaanites, Grashites, and Jebusites." So God makes a promise to Abraham. And when he restates his promise, he sets up a ceremony. It's kind of like a wedding, a marriage. So when you get married, you have a big ceremony. You have a big ceremony, you have a big celebration, you have a bunch of people join you in that ceremony. And a marriage is supposed to be a promise that you're staying with your spouse, and that's the whole point of the ceremony. You and a bunch of your family get together, you show off that you're going to commit to this one person for the rest of your life, and that's kind of like what the ceremony God does here. Now, the only problem with this is that modern marriages don't mean anything, and it's quite honestly the reason why I think anyone that isn't a Christian shouldn't be allowed to get married. And I firmly believe that. Secular people who are secular should not be allowed to get married. It just shouldn't, because there's no purpose. Okay, secular people have no morality. There's no purpose. There's no promise to be kept. The ceremony means nothing to them. It's just a piece of paper. But besides that, marriage is supposed to be two people that commit their lives together, and God is committing this promise to Abraham, and he even sets up a prophecy that's going to happen later, the 400 years. They're going to be enslaved for 400 years. That happens in Exodus, when the Jews become slaves to Pharaoh. And we're going to see that later in this Bible study. Moving on to chapter 16 now. But Sarai, Abram's wife, had no children, so Sarai took her servant, an Egyptian woman, and named Hagar, and gave her to Abraham, so she could bear his children. The Lord has kept me from having any children, Sarai said to Abram. Go and sleep with my servant, perhaps I can have children through her. And Abram agreed. So Sarai, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, the Egyptian servant, and gave her to Abram as a wife. This happened 10 years after Abram first arrived to the land of Canaan. So Abram slept with Hagar, and she became pregnant. When Hagar knew she was pregnant, she began to treat her mistress Sarai with contempt. Then Sarai said to Abraham, "It's all your fault. Now this servant of mine is pregnant, and she despises me. Though I myself gave her the privilege of sleeping with you, the Lord will make you pay for doing this to me." Abraham replied, "Since she is your servant, you may deal with her as you see fit." So Sarai treated her harshly, and Hagar ran away. The angel of the Lord found Hagar beside a desert spring along the road to Shur. The angel said to her, "Hagar, Sarai's servant, where have you come from? And where are you going?" "I am running away from my mistress," she replied. Then the angel of the Lord said, "Return to my mistress and submit to her authority." The angel of the Lord added, "I will give you more descendants than you can count." And the angel of the Lord said, "You are now pregnant and will give birth to a son. You are to name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard about your misery. This son of yours will be a wild one, free and untamed as a wild donkey. He will be against everyone, and anyone will be against him. Yes, he will live at odds with the rest of his brothers." Thereafter Hagar referred to the Lord whom had spoken to her as the God who sees me. For she said, "I have seen the one who sees me." Later that well was named Beer Lahai, and it came to be found between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar gave Abraham a son, and Abram named him Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old at this time. So at this part, Abraham does something super terrible on all levels. Not only morally is it wrong to have done what he did, because he did an act and then didn't take responsibility for any of that, for that action at all. And he blames his wife, and he's like, "You know what, just you'll deal with it then, you deal with it." And then he cheats on his wife, even though his wife kind of let him, but it's still wrong. Okay, that's not okay at all. This is not what God wanted. He breaks the covenant he makes with God. So Abraham does a bunch of terrible things all at once. He tells his wife to take care of the problem. He says, like, go take care of her, do it as you wish. Okay? Sarai beats her slave for doing what she asked her to do. Okay, these are terrible people at this point. They did terrible things right here. And God still chooses him to be the chosen one. At the end of all of this terrible thing, God still chooses Abram to be his chosen one, to lead his people, and to be the giver of life to all of his people. He's going to be the one that all of his descendants are going to be blessed. They're going to be God's people. And that's just kind of crazy, because, like, I wouldn't want Abraham to be the leader of my people, or the father of all my people. If I was Abraham, I wouldn't want that at all. Okay, I would have picked someone different. But God, that's not the point here. And God's message is more effective because of this point. And he says, you know what, I forgive you. I'm still going to let you be the father of all my people. But he still did something wrong. And it kind of gives us hope, because none of us are perfect. And if someone does something really bad, the Bible tells him here that God will still pick you. God can still use you, even if you are someone bad. And we've seen that play out time and time again. We've had porn stars turn into preachers. We've had murderers turn into preachers. We've had gang members turn into preachers. And it's just super cool to see that. And it just shows you how perfect God is at designing things, and how well he is, or how good he is at making a message. Because nothing is more effective than the message he puts here, is that God is merciful, and he can use and he will use imperfect people. So chapter 17, verse 1, Abraham was 99 years old. The Lord appeared to him and said, I am God Almighty. Serve me faithfully and live a blameless life. I will make a covenant with you by which I will guarantee to make you a mighty nation. At this, Abraham fell face down into the dust. Then God said to him, this is my covenant with you. I will make you a father, and not just of one nation, but of multitude of nations. What's more, I am changing your name. It will no longer be Abram. Now you'll be known as Abraham. For you will be the father of many nations. I will give you millions of descendants who represent many nations. Kings will be among them. I will continue this everlasting covenant between us, generations after generations. It will continue between me and your offspring forever. And I will always be your God, and the God of your descendants after you. Yes, I will give you all the land of Canaan to you and your offspring forever. And I will be their God. Your part of the agreement, God told Abraham, is to obey the terms of the covenant. You and all your descendants have this continual responsibility. This is the covenant that you and your descendants must keep. Each male among you must be circumcised. The flesh of his foreskin must be cut off. This among you must be circumcised. This will be a sign that you and they have accepted the covenant. Sorry, I messed up there. I read the wrong line. Every male child must be circumcised on the 8th day after their birth, or after his birth. This applies not only to members of your family, but this also to the servants born in your household, and the members and the foreign-born servants who have been purchased. All must be circumcised. Your bodies will thus bear the mark of my everlasting covenant. Everyone who refuses to be circumcised will be cut off from the covenant family for violating the covenant. Then God added, regarding Sarai, your wife, her name will no longer be Sarai. From now on, you will call her Sarah. And I will bless her and give you a son from her. Yes, I will bless her richly, and she will become the mother of many nations. Kings will be among her descendants. Then Abraham bowed down to the ground, but he laughed to himself in disbelief. How could I become the father of at the age of 100? He wondered. Besides, Sarah is 90. How could she have a baby? And Abraham said to God, yes, may Ishmael enjoy your special blessing. But God replied, Sarah, your wife will bear you a son. You will name him Isaac, and I will confirm my everlasting covenant with him and his descendants. As for Ishmael, I will bless him also. Just as I have asked, I will cause him to multiply and become a great nation. 12 princes will be among his descendants. But my covenant with Isaac, who will be born to you and Sarah about this time next year. That ended the conversation, and God left Abraham. On that very day, Abraham took his son Ishmael and every other male in his household and circumcised them, cutting off their foreskins, exactly as God told him. Abraham was 99 years old at the time, and Ishmael, his son, was 13. Both were circumcised at the same day, along with all the other men and boys of the household, whether they were born there or brought as servants. And that brings us to the end of our Bible study today. I hope you liked the video, guys. Give me your thoughts down below what you guys thought about this. We finally are past Abraham, or not past Abraham, but we finally learned the story of Abraham. We got to read through it. We got to see the covenant that God made with him again, and we got to see like why different cultures are the way they are, why circumcision is a thing, and it's just very interesting to read the history about this. So anyways, I hope you liked the video. See you guys later. Peace. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, of course.